your socks! Hey!
The Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Now streaming on all major podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast as giving a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a My Veteran Story with Command Master Cheif retired Lump Nissen. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check us out, see what we're all about. If there's any way you can help support us in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear, it would be much, much appreciated. A big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project out there doing amazing work. If you don't know anything about them, go to their website. That's tillvalhallaproject.com. And if there's any way you can help them out in their mission, it would be much appreciated. Also, to all the Marines out there, don't forget the Marine Corps League is here for you. Make sure that you go and join, and they're trying to get their numbers up. So let's help them in doing that. But you can go to mcleague.org. Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right, with that, I got a Lump. How you doing today?
Doing well.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm excited to have you on. Command Master Cheif, 34 years in the Navy. We were just saying a second ago that you probably have one or two sea stories.
That probably shouldn't be discussed, but yeah.
I like it. Well, like always, let's start at the beginning. Like, where did you grow up, and then what kind of drew you into military service?
I grew up in East Central Missouri, St. Louis, and 50 miles west of there, and everywhere in between that 50-mile jaunt. And went to high school and graduate high school in Union, Missouri, which is again about 50 miles west of St. Louis.
Okay.
Joining the military was a matter of sleeping in the back seat of a '68 Chevy. I didn't like
okay.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
And, there was nothing in my small town of Union that appealed to me. I didn't have any direction, didn't know where I was going. So I joined the Navy. That's the long and the short.
Okay. All right. And what was the reason for joining the Navy?
There was only the Navy and the Marine Corps in the recruiting office when I went in there, and I wasn't going to be a Marine.
Okay.
I was too immature and lazy to do boot camp for the Marines at that point. So the Navy went out on that in that direction.
Okay. Yeah. And then what year was it that you went in?
74.
74. Okay.
Yeah.
So really, when you were going in 74, you still had a lot of Vietnam veterans and stuff that were still serving during that time. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, a lot. As a matter of fact, when I signed my delayed entry, which was the 15th of August, that was the last day of active duty people getting the National Defense Service Medal for the Vietnam effort.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Wow. Well, hey, talk me through going to boot camp, and what was your experiences there? Was it positive, negative? What did you see there?
Boot camp, I had the same problems everybody else has. Immature, fat, dumb kid goes into boot camp and gets hit with shell shock. But because my dad really raised me to actually be a conformist and do what I'm told, boot camp, other than physically being challenging, it wasn't hard.
Right.
I hadn't done any research, so I didn't know. I knew absolutely nothing about the Navy. I knew nothing about the rank structure.
Wow.
So it was a hell of a learning curve. As we graduated from boot camp and we all got our first paychecks, all the people around me were getting more money than I was. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. And that's when I learned about E1s, E2s, and
E3s. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh,
so
wow.
I was getting in the shits in boot camp all the time for little things. And then at the end of I even got whacked over the head with an M14 by my company commander.
Oh, gosh.
And then at the end of the day, I ended up being his honor recruit. So I never did quite figure out how that worked.
Yeah.
because I graduated out of Orlando boot camp. I was the
Okay.
company.
Very nice. Company honor man out of boot camp. And then you had to go to your MOS school. And where was that at?
And that was a story in and of itself. I ended up
Okay.
being a yeoman, a Navy yeoman, which
Uh-huh.
is an admin guy. And still to this day, I'm not sure exactly how I ended up with guaranteed yeoman A school,
Uh-huh.
uh, but I did. And I realized real quickly that I wasn't going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeoman A school was in Meridian, Mississippi,
Okay.
at NAS Meridian. And I struggled through that because I couldn't type for shit. And it wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I finished at the top of the class, and they gave me an opportunity to promote me to D4.
Oh, nice.
All it required was a 1 year extension.
Oh, that's how they get
Okay,
you.
so I said okay, and I went ahead and extended for a year. So I showed up at my first duty station in Sasebo, Japan as an E4.
Very
Found out
nice.
found out real fast that was a good thing, but not so much a good thing. They didn't receive me very well,
Oh, yeah.
knowing that I didn't have any more knowledge than an E2. If I had that much,
Uh,
here I want a third class crow.
yeah, that makes
So
sense. Yeah.
that was pretty challenging for the first year or so. They demanded that I produce like an E4, and I wasn't capable, so it just took me forever, and life was tough. But
Yeah. You're playing catch up the whole time, you know?
exactly, and then
Yeah.
things got better, and the following, let's see, that was I got this was Sasebo, Japan, and I got there in February, I guess, of '75,
Okay.
and because I'd been promoted the year before to
Mm-hmm.
E4, I was eligible to take the E5 exam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I took the E5 exam and I made it first time up. So
No kidding.
now here I am uh, in February in '75 in the May in the spring I'm putting on E5 or no I got selected to make it, and then in the summer I'm putting on E5 curl.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I hate this being an admin thing, but I've only been in less than 3 years and I'm an E5, so we'll just stick this out. It was very unfulfilling. That's what I didn't like about being an admin.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't
It's a
see
thankless job.
and you just didn't see how your work was benefiting anybody, you know?
Yeah.
So we transitioned home ports from Sasebo, Japan to Subic, to Kiwi Point, Philippines in that year. And I did a year down there before my tour was up. And I went to and that was all surface Navy.
Okay.
It was an Admiral's 2-star staff. He was type commander for the surface Navy out there. So then
Mhm.
I went to a carrier group out of Alameda, California, and their responsibility was to work carriers up for deployment.
Oh,
So
okay.
we would embark in the next carrier due to deploy and take them through their workup cycle. And
Mm-hmm.
if that ship deployed, then we would hop on the next one that was due to deploy and do the same thing over again.
Right.
And when our came time to deploy, we flew over and embarked at USS Midway out of Yokosuka
No
and
kidding.
did our 6 months on Midway.
Ah, okay.
So I was in that tour for 2 years, and it was time to go to shore duty. So I went. There was not much available, so I went and actually went back to Meridian, Mississippi as an instructor.
Oh, back to the admin school.
Yeah, and while I
Okay.
was doing the instructor thing, I really enjoyed the leading the students,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fulfilling. And that was the first time I'd actually had a job that really fulfilled my desire to do something.
Right. Yeah.
So while I was in that job, I qualified. They had a qualification syllabus for called Master Training Specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So I qualified Master Training Specialist, took the first class exam, and made first class in let's see what year was that 19 January of 1980. I got frocked to E6. So here
Wow.
I've not even been in 6 years yet.
That's
And
amazing.
so, but I'm still having this. While we were at Mississippi, I was only there for a little over a year teaching, and they civilianized our instructor jobs.
Oh, no kidding.
Now here I am doing something I like, got the qualification I wanted to get, and my job goes away.
Yeah.
So I ended up going back to the Philippines to an aviation squadron out of Kiwi Point, BRC 50,
Okay.
and worked in legal there for a little while. and eventually took over running a personnel administration shop. So I took care of like 350 sailors and all their admin needs, all their personnel needs, and that sort of thing.
Right.
But that void was still there.
Mm-hmm.
I was running the streets with a submariner and a couple of SEALs that I
Okay.
met playing ball, playing softball and football. And they had a mission focus that I'd never seen before.
Right.
So we would talk sea stories,
Mm-hmm.
and the submariner would explain to me about although he's part of a crew, he's an actual warfighter.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And early on in boot camp, I had tried to volunteer for submarines, but
Oh,
I'd
okay.
been I'd been refused because I'm claustrophobic.
Mm.
So
I can see how that could
yeah,
hinder things a little. Yeah.
but after hanging out with these guys for 2 years, I wanted to give it a shot again. But at that point I got ordered. Well, at this point, this is 1983. I made
Uh-huh.
chief, so now I'm E7 in nine
Whoa.
in 9 years. Made chief and got
You
orders to Hawaii.
you made chief in 9 years.
Yeah, very
That
fortunate.
is
Very very atypical too.
now was that your first time up for chief too?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I pretty much chalk that up to the fact that I is a relatively young first class. For 3 years, I had 13 to 15 people working for me,
Yeah.
and the sailor of the year twice.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Yeah.
yeah, so those kinds of things help. But anyhow, I made chief, and a month later, I get orders to Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm in Pearl Harbor in a job I really don't like, and back in my mind is still the submarine thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Pearl, that's where Commander Submarine Force Pacific is.
Right.
Well, I'm down at sub base talking to the Master Chief Career Counselor for the force. He's looking at my record. He goes, I don't give a rat's ass for claustrophobic now. We'll fix that. If you want to do this, we'll do this.
Really? Wow.
So we started the process. I got through the shrinks, and 2 years later, 2 years to the day after I got to Pearl, I left for submarine school. It was in E7 and hanging in class with a bunch of E1s, E2s, and E3s.
Wow. Now, how was that? That had to have been a little different.
It was. They treated me well, the instructors and whatnot. I sat in the back of the class, pretty much sequestered from the kids. I stayed in the
Right.
hotel on per diem. They stayed in the barracks.
Right. Right. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so I did that for however many weeks that was, and in January of what year we in now? January of '86, I
Uh-huh.
reported to USS New York City, fast boat out of Pearl Harbor,
Okay.
and I was all excited. She's in dry dock, and she's going to be in dry dock for at least a year and a half. So
Oh no.
am I going to be the warfighter I want to be while it's in dry dock? But I had a chief of the boat that my cob was very understanding, and he knew what I wanted to do. And at the time, yeomen didn't stand watch on submarines;
Okay.
they worked directly for the XO.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. That's just what I'm trying to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I explained to the cob that I wanted to qualify in submarines, and I wanted to qualify chief of the watch, I wanted to qualify diving officer, and I wanted to do all these things. And he's like, "Well, yeomen don't do that." I said, "Well, okay, what's to prevent that?" He goes, "Nothing really." So we're in dry dock. So as soon as I got my shop scored away,
Yeah.
supporting the crew, he started sending me to other submarines, and I would get away with them and ride them for their ops, and I got all my quals done that way.
Very cool.
So
Okay.
from January to May, I was riding other submarines and then doing what I could do on our boat while I was in dry dock, and got qualified in submarines in May of that year of '86.
Wow.
So it was interesting going on these other boats too, because they see they're going to have a rider that's a chief yeoman
Mm-hmm.
that wants to do qualifications. That's all they're told.
Yeah.
Well, they realized they want to do basic submarine quals. They thought I might be wanting to do chief of the watch quals or diving officer quals. And
Yeah.
I'm wearing air warfare wings because I got qualified air warfare in squadron.
Yeah.
They were not very welcoming with those wings on my chest, but I was,
Oh, really?
yeah, to be damned, I wasn't taking them off until I got my dolphins. So got my dolphins and then worked on my chief of the watch quals, as I said, my diving officer watch quals, and because we're in dry dock, I can only get provisional qualifications just based on knowledge. You got
Oh,
to
I
get under,
see.
got to get underway on your submarine and actually perform all these functions before you can get
Oh, yeah.
extra qualifications. So again, I rode other local boats, doing a lot of the work. And then the squadron that controlled our submarine had a program in place that if deployed submarines had problems with whatever, in my case being a yeoman, they only had one SCI cleared yeoman on each boat. So if
Oh
they're on
wow.
up, they got to have SCI clearance. Well, they would go back to squadron. Squadron would find them all. Well, I put my name on that list.
Okay.
So this would have been in '87, I guess, summer of '87. So I get a call on Tuesday that I'm heading to Japan on Friday.
Oh my
So I
gosh, that's quick.
flew over to Japan and hopped on a boat going on spec op and rode them for right around 100 days and got every bit of knowledge I could get out of them.
Mhm.
Flew back home. We brought the boat right back out of shipyard. I got all my qualifications. So now we're operating, and I'm a yeoman that's chief of the watch qualified and diving officer qualified.
Right.
A yeoman in Pearl Harbor are or have ever been, and
Hmm.
they're pissed at me because their cobs are wondering why they're not getting off their ass doing something.
So
and, and
you're setting the bar high then.
yeah, but I was setting the bar high only because I wanted to meet that warfighting mission.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to be part of the team. And I was still young. That would have I've been 13 years at that point.
Hmm.
So I mean, I still had a long way to go. So I rode New York City. I did a full 3 years on there. Made senior chief on there. And again, it's now hard to figure out why. You've
Yeah.
got the yeoman at sea for the watch of diving off squad competes only against other submarine yeomen, and nobody else has those quals.
Oh wow.
So you're going to make rate. It took me twice,
Yeah.
but nonetheless,
Oh wow.
made,
So
made
this is
eight.
the first time that you had to go twice on the board.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
only time, and the only
Oh, the
time.
only time you had to do
Yeah.
that. Okay.
So as we're progressing through all this, and my cob's getting short, and I explained to him that I want to be a cop.
Uh-huh.
He's like, you've only been on one submarine. How can you be a cop? And we talked through it, and I took on a lot of responsibilities on the boat outside of being a yeoman. I had 3 young kids that I trained that were doing fantastic in the yeoman shack, so I could
Hmm.
actually do other things. So I was the boat's first lieutenant. The first lieutenant took care of all the topside equipment and all the
Right.
painting and all that crap. And I had my own little deck division guys.
Hmm.
I was able to learn and show the submarine force leadership outside of being a yeoman
Hmm.
and my watch station or my watch standing qualification. That performance is a better word than qualifications. So then I started going the Cobb and the Force Master Cheif, the Subpack Force Master Chief,
Right.
across the street from each other.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So Friday nights, I mustered in their garage, either one of them, whichever one they're at, and we drank beer and we went through Cobb training for hours
Really?
every
Wow.
every Friday night. Yeah. So uh, getting to about 30-month point of my 36-month tour, and Cobb's getting ready to transfer. So he sets me up for a Cobb's board at Subpack, and I passed.
Nice.
So I got shortly thereafter, I got orders to USS Hawkbill,
Okay.
SSN 666, out
Oh,
of out of Pearl as their chief of the boat.
no kidding. Wow.
So yeah, so
That's that's impressive.
it to me it was fun, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I we got I don't know. So I'm doing my Cobb turnover.
Hmm.
And the Cobb turnover is while we're underway, and we're in what's called a tree, a tactical readiness exam, where the
Hmm.
squadron comes on, rides you, puts you through all the warfighting capabilities you got to do, fighting, shooting torpedoes, fighting the enemy, trailing the
Right.
enemy, whatever, emergencies, and blah 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 blah. So I'm riding side saddle with the guy I'm relieving, and the boat's dirty, and the crew looks like shit, and they're not performing these evolutions very well. So I'm just sitting back watching, and the boat got us seriously below average.
Wow.
That basically welds you to the pier
Yeah.
until until squadron can make you better.
Right.
So after the tree, we came up on Christmas.
Hmm.
But I spent they had a Christmas stand down already set up 2 weeks. So I spent every day on the boat going through all the things that we did poorly on.
Mm-hmm.
rewriting watch bills, rewriting procedures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when the captain came back off Christmas leave, I sat down with him and explained to him my get well plan. And what I forgot to mention, when I got to Hawkville and the
Mm-hmm.
cop introduced me to the captain came out of his stateroom, put his finger on my chest, said, "I don't want you here. Go and unpack your sea bag. Ain't no yeoman can lead my crew, blah, 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 blah." And he slammed the door in my face.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
I went down to Cheese Mess, and the guy on my leaving says, what do you want to do? I'm going to go to the gym. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the gym. So I go to the gym, and the Force Master Chief was working out with him. And I explained the story. He goes, "Well, what do you want to do, Lump? You want me to send you somewhere else?" No. I said, "This is a win-win situation.
Yeah.
If I don't do better, it's probably going to be on him. If I
Yeah.
do better, it's going to make us all look good. So shit, let's go."
Yeah.
So as I'm showing the captain my get well plan, he's still of the opinion he don't want me. So he's like, whatever. No. So okay, I'm going to go. So we did a few underways with a lot of squadron riders riding with us.
Mm-hmm.
My first underway, I hot racked every single sailor, E5 and below, and a couple of my E6s that weren't qualified in submarines yet to support the riders. It was friggin' pathetic. Uh,
Wow.
but what it did is the squadron master chief was one of those riders. He was able to watch me go through all this crap and do what we do, and then we
Huh.
went through all of our evolutions and drills, and we did that 2 or 3 times, and they gave us a thumbs up that we're okay. We're good to go now. We can be warfighters again.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in a department head meeting, and the captain at this point is starting to warm up the lump. And we're sitting in a department head meeting, and a yeoman comes in. We're in the wardroom. The yeoman comes in. Captain sits at his table, his chair always, and I sit directly across from him so we can make
Right.
eye contact. So he leaves to go answer the phone, comes back, and I don't have. Says the commodore wants to see him, so he leaves the boat, and the XO takes over. Captain comes back a little while later, sits in his chair, looks at me, and I don't have any idea. Neither one of us talked about this since. We have no idea how. He asked me how long it would take. Didn't say to do what. I said, "Give me 2.5 weeks." And everybody's looking at each other like, "What?" And Captain says, "We've got to pick up an emergency deployment to Westpac. And we're going as soon as the boat can be ready." Cop says we can be ready in 2.5 weeks.
Whoa.
Here we go. Again, I have no idea where the mental telepathy came from.
Yeah.
Uh, and in fact, we actually got ended up, I think, with 3.5 weeks before we left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we made an emergency deployment on Westpac.
Wow.
We were supposed to come back home and go into dry dock for some nuke work.
Mm-hmm.
After we got home, they told us you're not going to dry dock nuke work. You're transferring your submarine's home port from Pearl Harbor to Merritt Island, California, to go through regular overhaul. So now
Wow.
I'm taking the submarine back into the freaking shipyard again.
Oh,
And I'm here to tell you that operating a boat at sea is a hell of a lot easier. My cat.
yeah.
A hell of a lot easier than trying to keep a crew trained and focused while your ship's torn apart. I mean, it just
Oh, yeah.
so we transferred all the dependents, we transferred all the personal property, we got everything over to California.
Wow.
Then we got the boat tore apart. Now it's to the point where I got to get the crew ready to go to sea again. How do you do
Mm-hmm.
that when you're by yourself up in Northern California? So I started working with Cobbs down in San Diego, and I got my sailors riding other boats out of San Diego,
Oh, nice.
working on the
Nice.
quals. And then also all the submarine trainers, the dive trainers, the firefighting trainers, all those things are in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Started making monthly trips down there. I take a different crew every time. And we go down there once a month. And when we brought the ship out of shipyard, I had my crew 100% qualified for other watch stations, and we passed our initial inspections. And it wasn't easy, but
Wow.
we did
Yeah.
better than anybody expected.
Well,
So
that's
now,
innovative thinking. And, that kind of puts you ahead of everybody else. You're going out and seeking where you can find it, which is incredible. Whereas I'm sure a lot of your, buddies left and right of you, they're probably not doing that. They're not looking out like that.
Most of the ideas came from other cobs and other squadron and group master chiefs, but talking
Yeah.
me through it. But nonetheless, we executed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then it was time to transfer from C to D again. So I went down to Sub Base San Diego as their command master.
Oh, okay.
So I had again now you've got not just submariners, you got surface guys, you got torpedo retrievers, you've got dry docks and torpedo intermediate maintenance activities and all this stuff. So that was interesting until it got boring.
Yeah.
And
Now,
by boring,
who were you working for? Was it a captain that was
yeah,
the CO? Yeah. Okay.
yeah. 18 months into that tour, the group master chief, and that's a 2-star command.
Mm-hmm.
He at the time he owned all the fast attack boats on the West Coast
Mm-hmm.
and the boats in dry dock up at Mare Island. So I applied for that job with a few other guys, and I got selected for that job.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I went to work for Admiral Gus Gustafson in July of '93.
Okay.
So you remember when we had BRAC,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
basically realignment closer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in '94, that command got BRAC'd,
Oh, wow.
and they sent the admiral's 2-star billet to submarine group 7 out of Yokosuka, Japan.
Oh, okay.
So here I am, 20 years in the Navy now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have nowhere to go.
Wow.
I'm a submariner, can't go back and be a cop again because that was the rule. The 2 squadron master chiefs that were in San Diego were both new.
Mm-hmm.
Force master chief, I couldn't compete for that job because he was relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, this is who thinking out of the box comes in.
Yeah.
And at that point in time in the Navy, you could wear one warfare device. So I was wearing my Dolphins, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but I was still qualified during warfare. It
Right.
wasn't a couple years later where you could wear 2. So we're both at that time. But at this time, I only had one. And this comes into play because I found out that there's an aircraft carrier up in Alameda, California, that was
Mm-hmm.
in need of a command master chief, and they didn't have one. Master Chief of the Navy didn't have one in line.
Oh, wow.
So I went over to AirPac, which is also in San Diego, the three
Mm-hmm.
star that run Naval Air Pacific, and I talked to his force master chief. Told him I wanted to be command master chief of the aircraft carrier. He almost threw me out of his office.
Really?
You're a friggin' bubblehead. What do you do? And we went back and forth and back and forth. And I talked to him about leadership. I said, I don't care what you're talking about, small group, large group. It doesn't matter. Leadership's leadership. And you can
Yeah.
use the same philosophies in one will work with the other. And he didn't buy into it. So eventually, because I took my service record over, this we still had paper. And I told him, I went to my qualifications page and said, what's that say? Because he was arguing that I didn't understand the aviation world. I said,
Yeah.
he's air warfare qualified. I said, I was air warfare qualified. I was the first non-Airedale to qualify in my squadron aviation warfare. Well, you still don't understand it. So we argued back and forth, and I went on my way back over to subbase. Immediately got on the phone with the force master chief, my submarine force master chief,
Yeah.
talked with him, and we politicked around the submarine force, and amazingly enough, I got orders to USS Carl Vinson out of Alameda, California, as command master chief.
No kidding. Wow.
Here I am, submarine air warfare qualified dude. Rode 5 carriers short times early on when I was on that staff.
Right.
Now I have to go from running a goat locker on a chief's mess of 12 on the way to a chief's mess of 150.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm like, okay, let's do this. So the only real problem I had was I got lost everywhere I went.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't, I just, there's ways to understand where you are and know where you're going, but I hadn't learned those yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But from a leadership perspective and a chief's mess perspective, we were solid as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had a captain who allowed me basically to be a cop of an aircraft crew.
Yeah.
On the submarine, chief of the boat runs everything. The officers fight it. They are the warfighter that runs the weapon system.
Right.
But the cob's got everything else. Him and his chief.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's not necessarily the way it is an aircraft carrier. The XO is a captain as well as the captain's a captain.
Right.
XO's got all these other responsibilities. Well, I took a lot of those responsibilities on me because I wanted them residing in the chief's mess so that I could control
Right. Yeah.
it. So I got my mass chiefs together and had, I think on Vincent, I had 17 E9s. And,
Wow.
and we basically, I don't want to sound too draconian, but we ran the ship. The captain let us run the ship.
Yeah.
We were very successful. We had, they had a competition every year in the fleet as the best CVN, best carrier chief's mess.
Mm-hmm.
Because that eating on an aircraft carrier back then in the chief's mess was I ran a zero profit based business.
Mm-hmm.
I could buy my food anywhere I wanted to. I could bring on anything I wanted to bring on that was legal. And
Right.
I got the rations from the chiefs and from the air wing when they come on board from their
Mm.
chiefs.
Yeah.
So I had to run a zero sum business.
Right.
So the business aspect of it, the mess facility aspect of it, and the ship's success for that matter, all contributed to that. So we got the best cheese mess that year, and the ship also got the Battle E, which means it was the best warfighting aircraft carrier on the pack fleet side.
Wow.
So at this
That's
point,
amazing.
we I had a cheese mess from hell, boy. They were awesome.
That's
Uh,
great. And how many did you say there were? 100 and what?
I had 150, about
150? Yeah.
150 ish. Um,
Golly.
uh, I can't remember on Vincent, but there's another time when I had that many later on in my career. I had 187s, had 30 some E8s, and 20 or
Wow.
so E9s. Yeah. So, but at this point in my personal life, I'm going through a divorce. Now
Okay.
I'm in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
The I want to be X is in Southern California in San Diego,
Right.
and all I'm doing is throwing money at a lawyer down there, and I'm getting nothing for it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm throwing good money after bad. So I worked with Big Navy, and Carl Vinson was going up to go into the shipyard, and I was transferred down to San Diego, and I
Nice.
took over a naval telecommunication station and a cryptologic department down there of about 450, 500 folks.
Yeah.
That was shore duty, and my chiefs were so strong that I got bored after about 15, 16 months.
No kidding.
They were doing everything, and they were just good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
What that's a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, a bad thing in the sense of you're bored, but a good
right.
thing because hey, they're taking care of it.
So I'm talking with uh, a buddy of mine who's a submariner who's also a cob now up in Bangor,
Mm-hmm.
Washington. And then the fleet master chief, the pack fleet master chief, who's also a submariner and had been a cob. And I found out that the Abraham Lincoln, which is another aircraft carrier
Yeah.
out of Everett, Washington, is in need of a command master chief.
Okay.
So I'm bored. So I terminated my shore duty, worked with the fleet master chief, who was told no by the MCPON
Oh no.
that we were going to try and get lumped to Abraham Lincoln. And the fleet master or the fleet commander at the time was Archie Clemens.
Mm.
He's a submariner,
Oh,
four-star
oh,
submariner.
seems like submariners are taking everything over here. You know?
Well, at one point, um, uh, the guy's nickname was Black Nathman. He was the uh, Air Pac Command Master Chief. Went to his force master chief and said, "Hey, what's up? There's like 12 carriers and there are 9 of them got cobs on it." So they started putting more emphasis in the command master chief game at that point.
Right.
But that was just kind of humorous at the time. But anyhow, a few phone calls from the fleet commander and Lump got orders to Abraham Lincoln.
Nice.
So they were on deployment. So I flew from San Diego to Bahrain and picked them
Okay.
up out of in the Persian Gulf and came on board. And the first person I saw was the battle group staff's chief of staff.
Okay.
It happened to be the same battle group staff that I had on Command Master.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
you go, what in the hell are you doing? So, well, sir, it's kind of like I'm a bad cold. You just can't get rid of it. So Uh, and I've got this is a sea story that's a funny sea story, but it really explains a little bit about the relationship of the CO and a command master chief that get
Okay.
together. So when I interviewed for the Lincoln, they don't have selection power, but they have veto power.
Mm-hmm.
So when the ship was getting ready to deploy, they came down to San Diego, and I went on board and met with the captain. The first question he asked me was, "Why? What in the f would you want to do this again for?" I said, "You know, Stan, this is fun to me."
Yeah.
So he says, "Okay, here's the deal. My cruise appearance sucks. Their watch steading sucks. Maintenance on the ship sucks. Um, can you fix that?" Yes. I can't, but your chief's mess can. And blah 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 blah. He goes, "Okay, I'm gonna say thumbs up." So I fly over there, and we're underway in the Persian Gulf. And every morning at 08, the XO captain and I met at sea in his at sea cabin, which is up on the '09 level, up on
Mm-hmm.
the bridge, and we just talked about stuff, what's going on, who's going to do what, blah blah blah.
Right.
So one of the things the captain told me is, "I want you to run my ship." And I said, "Roger that." So we've been away a couple of weeks, and he's got his fingers in everything.
Yeah.
He's micromanaging ship that he just did not need to be micromanaged.
Yeah.
And after he got done, XO got done. He goes, "Okay, now see what the guys." "Oh, Captain." And I'd already talked to the XO. He knew I was going to say this. So, "Well, Captain, I thought you said you wanted me to run your ship." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, then why aren't you letting me?" "What do you mean?" I said, "You're doing this and you're doing that. And that's not captain's stuff. That's not captain's business. That's Master Chief business." And we discussed it. The XO's over here shaking his head. Yeah. Well, Captain says, "Okay, I want to meet with the chiefs tonight in Chief's mess." Okay. So we set up the microphone, and everything for him to talk. He comes
Right.
down to the mess, and he's looking at all the ship's chiefs. No air wing. Air wing's not in there at that time. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Okay." He went through a few things. He goes, "Now tell me who can set policy on this ship." And everybody said, "Oh, you, of course, me. I got that. Who else on this ship besides the commanding officer can establish policy on Abraham Lincoln?" XO, no. XO does that, is the administration of the ship. Admiral, whatever, I can't remember which admiral we had. No, he runs
Yeah.
the battle group. And this, that, and the other. And finally, Captain goes, "This dude right next to me can establish
Nice.
policy on this ship from this day forward." And the reason I'm saying that is he tells me, "You can fix this ship. You, the chiefs, can fix this ship." And they all start shaking their head. And then there's some conversation going on between him and the chiefs. And he gets ready to leave. He goes, "Okay, this is it. You guys have it. And if you do what you say you can do, I'll stay the hell out of your hair. If you don't, I'll start doing stupid shit again." And he walked out.
Nice.
So
That's
from that,
awesome.
yeah, from that day forward, hell, we had green light to do just about anything we wanted to.
Yeah.
And I would tell the chiefs, "Be innovative. Here's my standard. My standards were very, very high coming from submarine force. Just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, we're going to get there. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." I said, I don't care how you lead or what you lead, but you don't do anything illegal, immoral, or unsafe, and I've got your back. There's
Yeah.
those things put me in jail, and you don't do that, and we're golden. And
Yeah.
he
Exactly.
took advantage of that, and it it took me to the mat a few times,
Yeah.
uh, but we got there. And again, we on this ship we got Best Chiefs Mess and Battle E again,
Oh,
and
wow.
all those chiefs do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I extended on there. I was having so much fun. I extended on there for 6 months, and now I'm in the Persian Gulf again, and I get a phone call in my office from the Master Chief of Navy,
Oh, wow.
um, and we're friends. And he goes, "What are your plans, Lump?" I said, "Well, funny you should ask me that, Nick. I said, I just talked about the captain. Um, he was he's willing to entertain me extending another 6 months." "No, you're not. You're clogging up my pipeline already. You're going home or you're going ashore. It's that simple."
Yeah.
Uh, and this is 2001. I'm going to be transferring in 2002.
Okay.
So I said, "Big Pop, I don't want to go to just a general command master chief job where I'm sitting on my ass all day doing nothing." I said, "That's not me." He goes, "Well, then if you can't find a job, you got to retire." "Well,
Yeah.
you got any ideas?" He goes, "I got one. I'll call you back." So he nominated me to be in consideration for selection as the Command Master Chief of the United States Naval Academy.
No kidding. Wow.
So it was myself, a couple of the Master Chiefs, a Sergeant Major, Marine Corps Sergeant Major, and the Commandant Midshipman was a Marine Colonel, John Allen, and the Superintendent, obviously Vice Admiral. But the two of them selected me, so I went to the Naval Academy as Command Master Chief. Trying to lead the chiefs that are leading 4,500 midshipmen, you know, and
I'm sure that's
it was
that
interesting, that dynamic.
you had your work cut out for you for sure.
They did. They certainly did.
Yeah.
We had a good time. We had a great relationship with Colonel, then Brigadier, then Major, then Lieutenant, and then General Allen.
Wow. Okay.
And Mick Pond, the new Mick Pond now, another Mick Pond, Terry Scott by name, comes up to visit Naval Academy. He sees all the things that we've done and are doing. And he and I sit down in my office. I'm like, I'm not ready to retire. And this job would have taken me to 30. He goes, you got to retire. Well, I mean, they're not going to give you a higher tenure waiver.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to retire, Terry. He's like, find a 4-star job. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like I know where their 4-star jobs at.
Yeah.
Work on it. Okay. So he goes back to his office in the Beltway. And not too long after that, I get a phone call from him. And he goes, you know what strategic command is? I said, I haven't got a clue. He goes,
Love it.
they're out of Omaha, Nebraska, and they've got global mission sets. And the Navy has never had a combatant command senior enlisted leader before. And I'd like to put your name in for it. Like,
Wow.
okay. So I go to Stratcom with, uh, 2 command chiefs and an Army Sergeant Major,
Yeah.
and we spend the week there. Command Sergeant
Okay.
Major. We spend almost a full week interviewing and touring and getting briefs.
Right.
And the last interview was with the commander. Been through
Okay.
the J3. I'm with J3, the J5, and the last one was with the commander and the chief staff. So I meet with the commander, and I get home to Annapolis, and I get a phone call that says he'd select me for the job.
That
So
was quick turnaround.
yeah, yeah,
Is it normally that fast or do you
Uh,
know?
I don't know about normally. Um, when I gave up the combat command job at the 4-star level, I had guys come in and interview at different times, not all together. So the process took a little longer, but the decision only took a day. The boss
Yeah,
knew
that
who he
makes
wanted.
sense.
The boss knew who he wanted. So I transferred from the Naval Academy in April of 02, came to Strategic Command in April of 02. Was hired by Admiral Ellis. He was the combatant commander at the time. Then General Cartwright took over command, Hoss Cartwright. And then when he went to be vice chairman, it was General Chilton,
Oh
Air Force
wow.
General.
Yeah.
So um, I I don't know if I was successful or not, but I did 4 years through all 3 of those gentlemen.
I mean,
Travel
that's
literally
that's
travel.
impressive in itself. 3 different well, admiral or general officers. That's not easy in itself because each one of them have a little bit different take on things.
Yeah, I can. I'll only tell you one little sea story about that tour. I mean, I had a great time. The command is global mission sets, so you're literally touching every single AOR. So I was everywhere from Germany to Iraq to Afghanistan to Qatar, you name it. I was there at one point or another.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. But I had where was I going? I forgot what the heck. Oh, I remember when Admiral Ellis hired me. I got there and reported to the board. I asked him, I said, okay, the only person that did not have joint experience in all of the people you interviewed was me. He says, I said, I am going to have a hell of an uphill learning curve. And he says, I said, what was your mind? What were you thinking? He goes, look, You're submarine qualified, you're surface qualified, you're air qualified. Those three communities don't talk to each other as a matter of course. You've been in the academia at the Naval Academy. If you can't learn the joint warfighting concepts after doing all that, then I was wrong. If you can, I was right. So that was his logic.
I think it's solid logic, though. I mean, he's
So
not
anyway,
wrong.
so I didn't know where to start, to be honest. I was
Yeah.
literally a fish out of water. So Command Sergeant Major Mark Ripdale from then Joint Forces Command,
Hmm.
I spoke with him, and he says, "Well, why don't you just come to Capstone? Uh,
Mm,
Capstone is the 1-star joint warfighting education
right.
concept, right?"
Hmm.
So I said, "Okay." So I went and I sat through the plenary sessions of with the 1-stars, and when they broke small group on day one, I figured I'd just hang out. And General Gary Luck, rest in peace, he just died here this past year. Um,
Oh, wow.
he died. He passed away in September, late August, first part of September.
Mm,
And
yeah.
he says, "No, you're not going to this. You're going in a small group with the general officer." So here I am trying to learn the very basics of joint warfighting, and I'm sitting at the head of the table with a lieutenant general from the Air Force, and I'm supposed to know something.
That's pretty
But
awesome.
it was a hell of a learning experience, and it wasn't. But maybe a year later, at the time there were 9 combatant commands, and the 9 combatant command senior enlisted leaders got together and pitched an idea to then General Pate and about having an enlisted version of Capstone. So we sold him on the concept, primarily Mark Ripka, because his knowledge is shit, 90
Yeah.
deep in joint warfighting. And we sold him on a concept of having a course called Keystone put into place. And we were the plank owners, and that's still up and running. And they do the plenary sessions are virtually identical to the capstone class. The have a few offshoots, and they don't visit the overseas combatant commands. They only go visit the ones on in CONUS. But nonetheless, that was a highlight of that tour. But yeah, and it was time to go home. So they kicked me out at 34 years.
34 years total. That's amazing. That's not a bad career, you know. You look back
I
over it, you got to go and do some really cool things.
That's what I say. It was very atypical.
Yeah.
It didn't follow anybody's career path. It was just
Yeah.
bouncing like a ping pong ball.
You were setting other people's career path that follow you. You're saying,
I
hey, this is how you do it.
it was more fun than loss should allow. And
Yeah.
then after I retired, I went to work at Stratcom as a program manager in distributed command and control.
Nice. Okay.
Did that for 10 years, and then spent 2 years as a contractor supporting OSD policy. And then COVID hit. And I said I quit.
I don't blame you. Yeah. So you've been sitting at home at least. I see you have a picture in the background of a nice motorcycle. So I assume
Yeah,
you go
there's lots of
riding.
pictures. Yeah. I spend time on my bike. I My job is going to the gym every day.
Okay, that's a good job. Yeah.
I do that. I'm at the gym for a couple hours every morning,
Yeah.
and my bride does the same thing. So we're out of the house in the morning doing whatever, and then playing old people in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it.
I just loving life now. So, uh, oh, by the way, youngest daughter is a Marine.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yep, graduated from the Naval Academy. Uh,
Wow.
Service selected Marine Corps. She's a major working with MARSOC right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's at MARSOC headquarters. She's the she's
Wow. That's
the
awesome.
she's the G3 G1.
Okay. Holy cow. Well, she's doing pretty good for herself, man.
She's doing well. She was rode hard and put away wet. Uh,
Yeah.
she she worked operationally for Third Tracks out of San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
and then directly into the MEF out of on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And she was ready to hang it up, so she submitted a resignation against my desires and requests.
That
And
happens.
Marine Corps told her no.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I turned it down. She was working for a colonel that was not. I didn't know the man personally, but he wasn't very well thought of,
Yeah.
and he was making her life very difficult. And we'd talk on the phone all the time, and I'd give her ideas to go sit down with Sergeant Major and discuss. And he helped her through that. And while that all was happening, because other people outside of the MEF knew what was going on, the Marine Corps offered her I call it a short duty job for Navy, but she went to work for uh, the reserve personnel office at Quantico,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, yeah.
she did that policy. She did that for
Hmm.
a few years, and then got engaged. And fiance, now husband, didn't want her to get out. Dad
Okay.
didn't want her to get out. Life was good
So
again, so she stayed in and went down to Marsoc. So
very
we
nice.
went back 2 years ago and pinned her major, Oakley
Oh,
Sergeant.
very cool.
So
Man, well then she should be coming up in the next couple of years for promotion to lieutenant colonel then.
yeah, she's hoping to have that as she leaves Marsoc whenever that day comes.
Yeah. And being a female at Marsoc now, that's of course they're rotating more females in there. But was she one of the first ones to go in?
No, I don't believe so. I think there were plenty
Okay.
more before her because she's
Okay.
on the command staff, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so she's having fun. Uh, 8 months pregnant now, so things will slow down for her soon. But
Yeah. Yeah. Things definitely change when that happens, that's for sure.
yeah, but I'm proud of her. It was funny from a dad daughter perspective. She's in her junior year at the academy. She's done her summer cruises with the Surface Navy and with the Air Navy, and they just opened up submarines to females, and she went down to Kings Bay, Georgia. So she calls me up and says, "I think I want to be a submarine." And like, no, you don't. Well, why don't you? What do you mean? Why? No, you don't. I
I
said,
love
"You're
it.
worth.
I love it.
What's your worth? What's your worth subject in school? Math? Yes, ma'am. You've got to be a nuclear engineer to be an officer in submarine force, baby. So how
Yeah,
do you
that's
figure that out?"
you have to know a little bit about math.
Yeah. So she says, "I didn't think about that. I imagine that." So very shortly before service, well, it wasn't shortly before service, but very shortly after that, she asked me if I would be upset if she service selected Marine Corps. And I'm like, hell no, but why? She says, well, I know how you were in your career. I know how you dressed. I know how you performed. I know what your standards were. And I have not seen that in my summer cruise. The only place I've seen that is in the Marine Corps. He says, I think I'm more comfortable there. So have yourself a ball, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's I think things have kind of gone downhill a little bit when it comes to uniform appearance and those types of things. I think a lot of that has to do with now we're wearing the utility uniform all the time. And now you don't even have to press those out, nothing like that. So it's kind of gone downhill. So the pressing, ironing out your uniforms and doing all that type of stuff, we don't do it hardly ever now.
Hell, I spit shine my shoes until I was a Master Chief. And then I did it then too. I just didn't wear them very often because I was always in boots. See, but
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I go on the base here twice a week. Normally, to go to the commissary, do things, and the appearance at the gate and appearance everywhere is terrible. The only ones who have maintained standards in my mind were the Marines because it's a joint base. Um, but now I read Early Bird every day, and the Chief Staff of the Air Force just approved all kinds of uniform changes back to more stricter standards. Only a couple of shades of nail polish for females. Uh, no permanent beard chits anymore. A lot of other things. So I think somebody's getting hit. We're slacking.
That's a really good to hear, actually.
Yeah,
And I think now that we're kind of, we're no longer in a wartime, well, hopefully, not in
right,
a
right.
wartime, hopefully things will kind of shift back to that. There's something to be said about your appearance and uniform appearance, stuff like that. Because that bleeds back into your readiness and stuff like that. That attention to detail and all those things. It just bleeds right into whatever it is that you're doing in your job.
We preached that at all of my seagoing commands. Cleanliness, material condition, that's all part of readiness. I don't care if it's painful. I don't care what it is. Uh, having a clean head to sit down and go to the bathroom in, or a clean shower to go in, is just as important as your resting gear working. I mean,
True statement. Yeah.
I can't demand stuff out of you if I can't provide you with some sort of creature comforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, first off, I want to thank you again for coming on and doing this. You didn't know me from anybody, so thanks again. I appreciate it. But I always give everybody an opportunity to kind of give words of wisdom or your thoughts on as you look over your career, maybe something that you can leave the listeners with.
Um, take care of your soldiers, sailors, airmen, marines. Um, they will literally fight and die for you if you take care of them. I don't mean just cuddle them. I mean take care of them. Know who they are. Nobody demanded more of my crews than I did. But as I told you earlier, and I just a few minutes ago, I would go to hell and back for them, and they knew that.
Hmm.
So, and as you went down, when my department master chiefs did the same thing, and their sailors knew they would do that, and the division chief would say, take care of those people underneath you. I don't care how far underneath they are, uh, rank wise, not
Right.
stature, but take care of them. They'll take care of you. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Um, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that from the bottom of my heart. It worked as a sailor. It worked as a civilian at Stratcom. Um, so I guess I'm not a rocket scientist, so that would be it.
Well, that was great. It goes right along with the same type of stuff that I talk about. So yeah, yeah, right on. I'm digging it. And then it
Cool.
kind of leads into, taking care of people. Is at the end of my podcast, I always talk about veteran suicide and the importance of reaching out and talking to people and things of that nature. But I'll go ahead and do the outro real quick. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. But to all the
Okay.
list, to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, you need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA has some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option one. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on the chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. I know Lump cares about you. I know the whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies that you serve with, ask them how they're doing. If they need a helping hand, please give it to them. All right. Thank you one last time. I truly appreciate it. To all the listeners, stay motivated, change your socks.